Carbon credits are gaining popularity as a tool to combat climate change, creating a monetary incentive for companies and governments to offset their carbon footprint and support decarbonization projects. Global Green Growth Initiative representative in Rwanda, Caroline Raes, expounds on why carbon credits are important and the benefits that lie in the carbon credits market.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your interest in the Global Green Growth's work, supporting its member countries meaningfully participate in international carbon markets. Before I get to explaining what carbon credits are and how they work, I just want to set the background and explain why we are even talking about carbon credits and carbon trading. As you know, the world is dangerously warming. Year after year, we're experiencing record-breaking temperatures, which have an impact on our lives, our health, our economy. And so we're feeling the impacts of climate change in a very direct and devastating way across so many communities globally. And Rwanda, although it's done very little to contribute to climate change, is really feeling and bearing the brunt of devastating climate impacts. Whether it's crops failing, droughts in the eastern part of the country, or intense and more frequent rainfall and floods in the west, which are also having devastating impacts on lives and the economy, the country is feeling the impacts. Climate change is real. And the scientific evidence is very clear. The reason why we are having this global warming is because of human activity in the form of burning fossil fuel and deforestation, which releases carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere. And those gases, they trap heat. So that's why we are having this global warming. And that's why it is crucial to reduce greenhouse gases or remove them from the atmosphere. And so in various climate negotiations, carbon credits have been identified as a cost-effective way of doing just that. So a carbon credit, it's a unit. It's equivalent to the reduction or the removal of 1 metric ton of CO2 or other equivalent to other greenhouse gases. So essentially, the way carbon credits work is by implementing projects that remove greenhouse gases, such as if you're shifting, for instance, from diesel buses to electric buses, or if you're implementing projects that remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, such as forest restoration. We know trees play a key role in capturing CO2 and other greenhouse gases. By implementing those projects, you're reducing and removing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And that removal represents a carbon credit. And so what happens is that when you implement those projects, you can take that credit and sell it to an individual, private entity, a corporation, a government. So these are actors who either want to offset their own emissions or they want to meet their own mitigation targets, their own climate reduction targets. So that's how carbon credits work. It's a unit. It represents the amount of CO2 that we are reducing or removing. And the way they work is by implementing these projects that are called mitigation projects or mitigation activities. Once you implement that and you can demonstrate that you've made that mitigation outcome, then that translates into a credit that you can sell. And coming back to your question about why should Rwanda participate in international carbon markets, it's important to maybe bring here a key principle governing international carbon markets, which is the principle of additionality. The projects that are funded through carbon trading are projects that are deemed additional. That means these are projects that are facing severe implementation challenges. Whether it's lack of finance or lack of technology, you are not able to implement those projects by going to your regular bank, to other financiers, and you really need to demonstrate that you need that carbon revenue to make this project bankable. So those are the projects that will get traded under international carbon markets. And so for Rwanda, this means that by tapping into carbon markets, it will be able to move projects that have not been able to get off of the ground. It will be able to implement transformational, innovative projects that will contribute to climate action for people and the planet. It really is looking at who is the buyer. So under the voluntary market, you have an airline that wants to offset its carbon footprint, or a private entity that wants to offset a carbon footprint and will work directly with a project developer in a specific country to do that. Usually on the voluntary carbon market, there's been already a lot of transactions and engagement in Rwanda in that space. The prices are at about $5 per ton of CO2 reduced. But if we're looking at the compliance market, which is involving, in part, it's involving transactions between countries, bilateral transaction from one country to another, a buyer and a seller country, then there you have an opportunity to advance projects that are high-hanging fruits, projects that are really ambitious, that will fetch a higher price, and where government will have a stronger role in reviewing, approving, authorizing those projects. If we look at Rwanda's readiness, we have to look at it holistically. And I think in 2023 the country launched its National Carbon Market Framework, which is a very good first step to meaningfully engage in carbon markets under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. This framework is essentially the overarching guideline guiding how the country will be engaging in carbon markets. And I think it's important to also recognize the country's leadership and commend the effort in setting up that framework, because carbon markets are still very complex. We just clarified all of the rules under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement last year at COP. So for Rwanda to launch that carbon market framework in 2023 it's a sign of strong commitment to climate action, boldness. And so that has laid a strong foundation. In addition to the framework, the country has signed 2 bilateral agreements now with Sweden and Singapore. These are countries who have expressed that they want to buy credits coming from Rwanda. So in terms of some of these governance frameworks, the agreements, there's been effort put in place and we are moving in the right direction. However, there's still a lot that needs to be done in terms of strengthening the institutional setup, building technical readiness, making sure that everybody has the capacity, the awareness, the confidence to engage in carbon markets, whether it's the public sector or the private sector, and also, as you said, coming up with the right projects, those high integrity projects that will support Rwanda's climate and development goals. So that is where GGGI comes into play. We are supporting on those 3 fronts, and we're very excited for the journey ahead. So to be fully operationalized, there are a few things that need to happen to operationalize that carbon market framework. So first of all, one of the first steps would be to enhance the governance setup. Yes, there is a framework, but we need to put in place the right procedures, systems, tools to guide the day-to-day implementation of that framework. So that's the first area of focus, to operationalize it, really working on that governance setup and having all the systems and tools in place. Equally as important is building the capacity of entities like the Rwanda Environment Management Authority, which have a key role in authorizing the transfer of carbon credits from Rwanda, but also all the other key government entities. There are many government ministries, agencies that have a role to play in effectively participating in carbon markets. So they each need to know what their roles and responsibilities are and how they can effectively contribute to Rwanda's active and mutually beneficial participation in international carbon markets. The last one I would mention is that we should not overlook the role of the private sector. We need to find ways to incentivize the private sector to come up and implement these mitigation projects, these projects that will reduce and remove greenhouse gases. We need to incentivize them so that it's worth their time and their energy to get engaged in that, and also build trust so that they know that the system is fair and credible. Well, one of the benefits of engaging in international carbon markets is that you're able to foster new jobs, green jobs, additional livelihoods linked to these projects. So you might bring a new technology, you might have a mitigation project, and that will create jobs. So there's a direct benefit there, and that's how an ordinary Rwandan can contribute. Well, the step-by-step process would be that first we now have a revised, or it's a national determined contribution or climate action. It's being revised and looking at the NDCs, Rwanda's climate action, identifying what are the opportunities for high integrity transformational carbon projects. Once those projects are identified, different stakeholders in Rwanda would have to implement them. And once you implement those projects, you're able to oversee them. A government should be able to oversee them, measure against international standards that there is effectively a reduction or removal of greenhouse gases. And then the credits will be issued. And then government of Rwanda, through REMA, can authorize the transfer of those credits to other countries. There are 5 ways Rwanda can benefit from carbon markets. I think I mentioned one, but I can reiterate. But the first one is new sources of finance. As mentioned, carbon projects or projects that are traded under international carbon markets have to show additionality. You cannot generate carbon credits from projects that you can get funded if you go to maybe BRD or another partner here. You have to show that this is a project that is really in need of that additional revenue stream from carbon finance. Otherwise, that project will not happen, and that project has a direct benefit in terms of reducing and removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. So if you show that, you're able to access new sources of financing. And that means that Rwanda can implement projects that will be able to access that additional financing that it currently lacks today. The second benefit is in terms of incentivizing climate action. Because that financing is out there, then there's an incentive for both public and private actors to start implementing innovative low-carbon projects, innovations. As I've mentioned earlier, one of the options could be how do you move from maybe having a fully diesel bus fleet to an e-bus fleet across the whole of Rwanda. That's ambitious. You need a lot of financing. You might not get the financing to get there. So that type of financial incentive for ambitious climate action is another benefit. It will catalyze innovation. It will encourage different stakeholders to embark on these high ambitious solutions. The third benefit, which I mentioned, was generating jobs and livelihoods. When you implement these projects, whether it's a clean cooking initiative or you're renewing your bus fleet, you will create new jobs. you will have to create, if I take the example of the electric mobility, you will need new drivers who are trained, you will need mechanics who know how to operate buses. So there's a direct benefit for Rwanda and Rwandans to benefit in terms of new jobs and livelihoods. The other aspect would be technology transfer. By participating in international carbon markets, you're also able to access climate technologies that are maybe out of reach at the moment. And lastly, the fifth benefit linked to participation in international carbon markets has to do with partnerships and international cooperation. Ultimately, Article 6 of the Paris Agreement is all about international cooperation, having partnerships or strengthening partnerships with countries such as Sweden and Singapore in the case of Rwanda, for instance, and also raising the visibility of Rwanda globally as a climate leader. So these benefits are not only about reducing greenhouse gases, it's really about creating a green economy that will generate benefits for the current and future generation in Rwanda. I think Rwanda has shown a lot of leadership globally on environmental and climate issues. As mentioned, Rwanda has done very little to contribute to the current climate crisis. It's not responsible for it, yet it has taken bold action to prevent further climate disaster and also to adapt to climate change, so both on the mitigation and the adaptation front. And I think this is because when you live in Rwanda, you know the dire impacts of climate change. It's also about survival, it's about development. With more droughts, our agriculture system will be severely affected, and that is the backbone of the economy. So there's a very strong understanding that climate action has to be bold, and climate action has to be mainstreamed across the whole of society and across government. So we are seeing a lot of leadership coming from Rwanda on this front. And it's the same with participation in international carbon markets. Rwanda is a forerunner with the launch of the carbon market framework. And so we're very much excited to be working with the government of Rwanda as part of our Article 6 readiness project, which aims to operationalize the carbon market framework. And we're convinced there's going to be a lot of exciting lessons learned for other countries in the region and beyond. So yes, this is a place that is leading the way. And I'm really excited to see how by catalyzing and actively participating in carbon markets, we're going to see even more innovation happening in the country. Right now, we've embarked on a 2-year initiative, which is funded by the Global Green Growth's Carbon Transaction Facility. And to share a little bit more about that facility, essentially, a couple of years ago, we did a survey amongst our member countries. We have more than 51 member countries, to ask them, are they interested in engaging in international carbon markets, and what is preventing them to do that? And both buyer countries and seller countries mentioned the same challenges or similar complementary challenges. So countries like Rwanda, who want to sell carbon credits, they mentioned the need to have capacity, confidence in engaging, knowledge, and the buyers on the other side, countries like Sweden maybe, are looking for good projects. They want to engage with confidence also that they're buying projects that have high integrity, that are really contributing to climate action and minimizing any other negative impacts. So as part of this collaboration with our member countries, we came up with the Carbon Transaction Facility, which is essentially a table where buyers and sellers can come together on an equal footing to trade under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. And so we've now accessed funding from that facility and will be supporting REMA and the government of Rwanda to fill some of the gaps that I mentioned earlier for Rwanda to operationalize its carbon market framework. So that means improving awareness. We're launching a campaign to raise awareness It's going to come out very soon. So there's going to be a lot of multimedia engagement and awareness raising activities around carbon markets. We're going to do a lot of capacity building for both public and private sector. We'll also be embedding staff within Rwanda Environment Management Authority to see how to improve the governance setup, come up with additional tools and procedures needed. And also another area that I'm very excited about is we'll be working with different stakeholders to identify those projects, that pipeline of projects, mitigation projects that Rwanda can go and take at that table that I mentioned and say, these are our projects, who is interested? And the country can engage on an equal footing. In the past, before the carbon transaction facility that DJI initiated, buyers would come. It was not dictated by the selling country. So now we're really creating that level playing field where the country can go and say, these are my priorities. These are the projects I want to advance. Are you interested in transacting? And so we're supporting with the readiness, filling those gaps, but there will also be in future an opportunity for that transaction to happen and that matchmaking to happen between buyers and sellers. And that reduces significantly the transaction cost for countries like Rwanda to engage in international carbon markets because they have direct access to those buyers and they are supported through the facility. So that's an initiative that we launched last year, and we'll be sharing more updates as we implement it.